Guys, I've told my horror story before with S Corp clients, and how do you know what reasonable comp is? My horror story is when they went after that CPA who was a friend of mine for $125,000, arguing that he knew and that he knew better and that he should have made sure his clients took reasonable comp. I'm a huge fan of RC reports. RC reports, it's about $1,400 a year. We're charging the S corps that come to us under audit $750 a piece. We'll probably make between $10,000 and $20,000 with RC reports. But if you have S corp or C corp clients, they have to each year get a report, and the report is as simple as possible. RC Reports has a huge database of businesses. It will give you a report that you can rely on. And so far, to date, when we produce that report, not a single auditor has challenged it. The critical thing right now is for your clients to get that report to support the number they're taking on the return that you're taking on that return that you're signing. Best way to do it, RC Reports. Go check it out. Okay, you can find them. It's trn.rcreports.com. Again, trn.rcreports.com. Go there, you'll save $100. It will change your practice, create an annuity stream for you, and bulletproof your clients' corporate returns. The Tax Rep podcast is now proudly partnered with Nice Job, the experts in reputation marketing. Reviews are so important for attracting new clients. Before Nice Job, I would ask people to leave reviews, but they would usually forget, and I didn't have a way to stay on top and remember to follow up with them. That's where Nice Job comes in. Their smart follow-up campaign recognizes who hasn't left a review yet and automatically sends carefully timed reminders that can increase your chances of getting a review by 300%. I tried Nice Job for Tax Rep, and it's been a game changer. We added 33 five-star reviews in our first month, and our Google business profile is like a magnet for new customers. You can try Nice Job for free for 14 days and get 50% off your first 3 months by visiting nicejob.grsm.io/taxrep. nicejob.grsm.io/taxrep. I'm going to put a link in the description of the podcast. Try it. It will be a game changer for your business as well. How do I manage my tax rep practice? How do I get transcripts? How do I track what is going on with the IRS with every single one of my client cases? How do we complete the offer forms, the powers of attorney, everything? We use Tax Help software. Tax Help software is the cornerstone of our practice. We use it for its intelligent ordering. Every single night, it will update the transcripts on our clients, so we will see things happen long before those letters even go to the mail. We can then, react. We can let the client know. We can get all the transcripts we need to determine what our client's best options are, when is the debt going to expire, and we can fill in all of the IRS forms and get them filed accurately, the analysis done correctly. If you're interested in giving it a test, go to taxhelpsoftware.com, use promo code TAXREPTRIAL, all one word, all caps. You'll get a free 2-week trial. Again, that's taxhelpsoftware.com, TAXREPTRIAL, all caps, for a free 2-week trial. If you love it and want to buy it, use TAXREP10, capital, all caps, TAXREP10, TAXREP10, all caps, one word. You'll save 10% on your purchase. It will be the engine that runs your tax rep practice, just like it's what we use for ours. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on this week's Tax Rep Network podcast. I am joined here at Green and Squires in my office with Roger Nemeth from Tax Help Software. Roger, thank you for flying all the way up from Florida just to do this.
And funny enough, the temperature was almost identical in Florida and here, which I never understand. But
New England is just weird. It was 90 and then it got down to 40 and then it went back to 70. It's whatever. Anyway, what I want to talk about,
because this is something we get more and more into, and I get tax rep members getting more and more into. And I decided, how do you add $150,000 this tax season using tax help software? Because we've talked about monitoring, we've talked about some of this stuff, but I really want to get into it. So for those of you who don't know, what tax help software does is, ostensibly it pulls transcripts, but it does much, much more. So we can pull all the transcripts, the wage and earning reports, all of that stuff. It then will generate the best report in the industry. None of the other players have a report like this. Calculates the CSED. It will flag first-time abatement penalty opportunities. You can monitor to see if things kick out, if it goes to audit, it comes out of collection. I found out about offers being accepted before we got the letter. Right? Because the system just flagged it. And it's not much money. And so, when people tell me, I should have it, whatever, it's become an annuity for us. And so that's what I want to talk about is, what can people do with tax help software to just generate, well, first of all, both to generate money, but quite frankly, help your clients. So we can talk about monitoring, we can talk about looking for potential refunds. But also, especially if you're using an outside payroll company, just to see when things get filed, right? Make sure the returns got in, all of that.
Confirm they filed. Because we all know we've all sent returns and made the assumption they were there, only to find out later. Hey, if you've been doing taxes long enough, at some point you thought something was submitted. And this is the validation to that from the IRS's standpoint.
Right. So what you want to start with?
So I guess start with how account monitoring began. We've been doing this. I've been doing this internally since 2009. We used it as an internal product. That's how it developed. 2012, one of the big resolution firms found us. And prior to that, I wasn't doing it for resolution. We were doing it for monitoring, basically looking for refunds, making sure the income filed on returns was correct, so we didn't get a CP 2000 later on, and ended up getting discovered by one of the big resolution companies. They ended up over between 2012 and 2013, 14-ish, kind of implementing it, and that was our first big operation. We did 30 million transcripts that year, which that one company downloaded 3 times as many transcripts as the rest of the country combined. So that was kind of the game changer there. And what we came up with was, I recommended to them, once you're done with a resolution, how many resolution clients have recidivism? How many people do you get into an installment agreement only 8 months later are booted out of the installment agreement? Right. Or they get into an offer and they don't do their estimated payments. So this started as a function of monitoring resolution clients for a fee. Like, for example, one of the ideas we came up with was, if somebody doesn't offer a compromise, they have to stay compliant for 5 years.
5 years.
So why not sell them the tax return preparation for the next 5 years in advance, where you will do their 5-year, their next 5 returns. And some firms started to build it in and said, we're not going to do an offer unless you let us do the next 5 returns. Because the problem is, if somebody gets kicked out of an offer and it's no fault of the tax professional, you'd be surprised how many times they blame the tax professional. So the goal here was to force them to remain compliant and not file a complaint over 5 years. And it was a huge issue. They were getting people offers that failed out of them in 8 months and said, that was the worst, experience I ever had. I got booted out. They leave out the part they got booted out for non-compliance. They didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Right.
Pursuant to that, we tend to see the same clients in tax resolution over and over and over. So helping them maintain their compliance is definitely a service. So over the years, once we started to launch out, one of the misnomers with tax help software is it's a resolution product. I developed it when my parents owned a Jackson Hewitt franchise, and we did it to find refunds and roughly monitor the accounts, but not near to the level we do now. 75-80% of our users derive a majority of their income from tax prep, not tax resolution. So over the past decade, we've been developing IRS account monitoring for tax offices. And a lot of people are like, so what would I have to do? And one of the things is you have to get access to your client's data. The best way, in my opinion, to do that is through an 8821 form, as opposed to a power of attorney, which has more liability. It has more capabilities for an EA-CPA, but for monitoring, you really only need an 8821.
Yeah, and so let me explain. So how we got into this, when we finish a case, we would revoke power of attorney. I don't want to sit and babysit because you get the notices the next year. Now we're emailing people we haven't seen in a year. We're not getting paid for this. So when we close the case, we revoke power of attorney. Take the POA, with the line through it, revoke, fax it in, done, or upload it now. And now you can even go online into this and just revoke there. Well, when you revoke, the taxpayer gets that letter.
And it's a nasty letter.
Oh, yeah, it scares the hell out of everyone. Basically, Eric Green has dumped you, and now we're going to deal directly with you. And if there's a problem, we're coming after you. I don't remember the language, but
it's we no longer have to go through your representative. We're coming straight to you. Even though they might still be your client as a tax professional, you may have just decided to withdraw from your POA from them. The way the IRS makes it sound is you have reported to the IRS that you are no longer involved with that customer, which really
scares the hell out of the customer. So we have customers, our clients go, whoa, why are you firing me? We're not firing you. Case is over. If you need us, come back. No. I want you to keep your power of attorney on file. So just off the cuff, I'm like, all right, look, $500. It was my consult fee at the time. And we'll keep it on for a year and get an updated power of attorney. And people started paying it. And all of a sudden we were like, wait a minute. And so we now ask every single client, do you want us to maintain our power of attorney and monitor? We charge $500 for the year. Virtually everyone pays. So when you get up to 150, 153, wherever we are now, at $500, it's a $75,000, $72,000 annuity. And here's what happens. Once a month, Nicole logs into Tax Help software and just updates, pulls everybody. It does 100,000 transcripts an hour?
Yes.
So
give or take.
Yeah. But the point is, within an hour-ish, we have everything, and that dashboard pops up, and she just scrolls through and she'll flag, hey, this client is now out of collection, or this client now has been flagged for an audit, or whatever.
Well, and Tax Help software has a change log. You don't have to look for the changes. We show you, I think it's 15 different fields, like, hey, your client went from not filing to filing, or hey, an amended return dropped. It also shows all the different levels of collection. It'll show a pending installment agreement, an accepted installment agreement. It'll show a pending offer changing to an accepted or rejected. So you see the different, you see anytime these set fields change a value, you can even track, tell me every time a payment is made. That gets a little excessive, but some people want to see it. Some people don't want to see it, and they opt not to see it in their change log.
But the point is, now we can send them an email, hey, you have been flagged for this, or hey, we have a problem, or whatever. Does a number of things. One, they feel better because we're watching. Two, we have the annuity stream coming in. But here's the other thing, they're not going anywhere else. When we say, hey, you got this, they say, get me a new engagement letter, and I want you guys to take care of this. So effectively, we have the annuity. We've now not really locked them in, but we've tied them to us. I mean, I've not had anyone say, thanks for letting me know. I'm going to go find somebody new.
Well, and let me touch on that. So monitoring is not, you're not giving them this insurance policy that says if they get in trouble in the future, you're going to work your next case for free. Monitoring is merely, there's an issue, and if you would like to re-engage us, we can fix it. Now, the good news is being proactive versus, I managed tax franchises for close to 7-8 years. I kind of on and off early on in my career. That's what I did. After tax season was over, we spent our summer reacting to clients coming into the office. That's what started me thinking, isn't there a way we can validate income that they filed beforehand? How can we start reaching out to people before they had an issue? And what we saw was our retention for people that we were able to reach out to and advise them of a problem before the IRS did. They didn't leave us. They also didn't blame us. When you call a taxpayer up and say, hey, Mr. Smith, you forgot to give us two 1099-Rs. And however, I can't save you the tax money that, you're going to have a hefty tax bill. What I can do is reduce the penalty, because right now with the IRS interest rate, I believe at 8%, it's the highest it's been in a very long time. And what happens is, if the IRS waits a year and a half, say, to drop a CP 2000 on a $20,000 tax bill, the problem is $20,000 becomes $40,000 almost instantly through your, possibly a failure to file, possibly a failure to pay, an accuracy related, and then the interest daily accrued at 8% since the filing deadline. It doesn't start the day the IRS discovers it. It goes back to April 15th. So it's not going to double for everybody, because they may have filed, so you don't get the failure to file. You only get the failure to pay on the amount. But I have seen tax debts double on penalty and interest before the taxpayer got the first bill.
Right? No, I mean, so we've got the monitoring aspect. And then it sort of dawned on me, because, we also use it for penalty abatement. One, because I need to see the client history, right? So if you're going to go for penalty abatement, reasonable cause, one of the things that the IRS looks at is, what is this taxpayer's history? Have they had prior abatements? Are they really been good doobies, or are they really kind of just a wreck? And the software will flag those first-time abatement. Hey, you have a first-time abatement on this year. And so we just started, just off the cuff. Hey, you know what? We could probably get your money back on this, or we can get it and reduce your balance for the penalty abatement cases. But it just dawned on us, we're pulling these anyway. Why don't we do it on everybody? And so build into our letter, you're agreeing that if we find a penalty abatement opportunity, we'll run it by you. And if you want us to pursue it, we are going to keep 25% of whatever we recover, 20%, 30%, whatever you want. It's found money for something we're already doing anyway.
And again, under Circular 230, contingency fees are okay
for a refund, credits,
penalties,
whistleblower. Yeah, exactly.
And I have an example on that.
Yeah.
Had a user very early on, kind of as we were just throwing monitoring out as an idea and not a structured program. I would always talk about it and say monitor, but I didn't have a program. I mean, they would monitor the software, but I didn't have advertising materials, and we'll kind of talk about that in just a minute. But gentleman calls me up in May and says, this was fantastic. He goes, I was sitting around in my office in May. You always talk about all this stuff that your program does. And it was a CPA that had 750, 800 clients. I remember it wasn't quite 1,000. And he said he went through his list and he found a first-time penalty abatement, and it was like for $70,000 or $80,000. And he was a dentist, and I think it was part of whatever it was. I don't remember the exact details of the penalty. He goes, but I had a POA already. He happened to do power of attorney instead of 8821. I recommend the 8821, but in his case, he had the POA, so he didn't have to reach out to the client again. He calls PPL, or the practitioner line, just kind of on a fluke on an afternoon. And he said, my name is John Smith. I'm a CPA representing, Bob Jones, and I'm asking for a first-time penalty abatement for $75,000 for 2017. The IRS person asked a couple questions, verified identity, made sure they had CAF, as they do. And they came back 10, 15 minutes later and said, happy to announce we're giving your client first-time penalty abatement of $75,000. They'll receive a letter in 7 to 10 days. Thank you very much. Have a good day. His problem was he hadn't worked out his fees with the client and just got them a $75,000 first-time penalty abatement. So he called me up and I said, if it were me, I would probably charge somewhere around, I just felt like 15,000 was a good number, maybe 20% of what the penalty is. Because again, the client didn't know this person had been through advanced training from my first-time abatement class, had taken other classes to educate themselves, and paid for software that helped them identify the issue. I don't think $15,000 is an excessive penalty.
No.
Okay. It's the old joke about the engine mechanic that shows up, taps the engine with a hammer, and it starts right up. And the guy said, why am I paying you $1,000? He goes, I just hit the engine with a hammer. He goes, it's where to hit it and how hard. That's why it's $1,000.
Right.
It's the same thing here. So he ended up calling the client up, and it took him 2 days. And because again, if the IRS letter showed up saying, congratulations, you already got it, he wasn't going to get any fees. So he ended up, I think, getting 12,000 in fees, and literally he went through everybody else. It's rare you're going to have a $75,000 penalty abatement.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but you are going to see penalty abatements in the thousands of dollars. And when you get a client an extra $1,000 or an offset of tax debt that can help offset your fees, that customer is not going anywhere because they're not getting it anywhere else. I mean, I won't say how many tax help software users we have out there, but there's 700,000 tax professionals on the PTIN list. Maybe it's 650, 750, it kind of varies. Not near that amount use THS. So this is a service that you're going to be offering that not many other people do. So, and that's where we got, and then the program started to migrate into a tax prep monitoring product.
Right.
We added the change log. We also did some things around that, made things better. So it was one thing for me to tell you there was a first time penalty abatement opportunity, but because some of our users were going back into the 90s and the 2000s, sometimes the refund statute expiration date was already expired. A first time abatement where you don't owe any money on that year and the RSET has expired doesn't do you any good.
Right.
There's no money to be had. There's no benefit to be derived of it. So we launched what's called an issue opportunity report, which combines different things. And one of those things is anytime we spot a refund opportunity, whether it's first time abatement, a missed credit, we start looking for certain missed credits based on what was on the return. If we find anything, we tell you how much refund statute is still available. There might be $2,000 of refund still available. Now, that doesn't mean if the RSET amount is $2,000, that doesn't mean you're getting $2,000 back. You still have to have a valid claim for like a first time abatement, an amended return with a refund. The RSET is just what's available for refund with a valid claim. Right. And what we've since done is we launched Tax Help Software's Copilot program. So if you go to taxhelpsoftware.com/Copilot, one word, no hyphen, no dashes in the Copilot. It is a program we put together at no cost for tax help. Well, you pay us for tax help software. It's an additional feature that you don't pay additional for, but it's a checklist of how to get your organization started with Copilot. And it's a series of short videos that kind of have my talking head in the lower corner because I'm your Copilot. What it is I'm telling you how I would use the product if I was still managing a tax office. And the reason that's important is Tax Help Software has users that pull 1 million transcripts every day. And we have users that pull 5 transcripts once a month. There is a wide range. So what I do here is I should tell you how I would use the program. There's different ways to pull transcripts. You can pull every transcript for everybody in your firm, or you could just pull for select people. I tell you how I would do it, so you're not deciding how to do it in your firm. Some people don't want to be presented with 18 menu options. We are the cheesecake factory of options in the program. This is me basically saying, I'm going to recommend you try this, this, and this, because this is what works. If you want to deviate from that, we have that capability. However, this is how to do it. Don't go off my path, and it'll be very easy for you. I explain, try to get at least one employee that's dedicated to this once a week. Other than the first time you really start to pull transcripts on your people, once it becomes a maintenance thing, it becomes very easy in the annuity. The first time you run Tax Help Software looking for refund opportunities, you could have a couple months worth of work, but it's all going to be revenue opportunity for you.
Right. No, and so, and just for everyone listening, so yeah, you've got monitoring. You've got both monitoring in terms of someone you've done representation for, monitoring for the returns that have gone in and seeing if payments have been made and hit the account. You've got the refund opportunity. But that's all on the side to the fact it does all the resolution stuff. It does my offers. It does our installment agreements, our powers of attorney. So, the program is the cornerstone of how we run a $5 million practice. But even beyond that, for the folks that are like, gee, I don't know, I don't want to spend, is it even $1,000? I don't even know what it even costs.
So fully loaded minus the bankruptcy calculator, which very few people need. If you need it, it's the best on the market. but most of our users pay between $600 a year and $750. The difference is we have a tax resolution package that has the collection forms. We've started to add state collection forms to that, the 433s. And not everybody needs it. That's why it's an option. But it's the license is $600 a year. If you don't use tax help software, we have a 6-month, includes everything, including the bankruptcy calculator and the resolution package. It's $250 for 6 months for anybody that is a new user. And we do that because it gives you the ability to see what you're going to need in the program. And then when you renew at the end of 6 months, you'll either renew at $600 or $750.
And by the way, I charge bankruptcy attorneys $750 just to run the report. We probably make $10,000 a year just generating the transcript report for other people. And we'll have them go, where did you get this? Oh, well, tax help software. So my point is it pays for itself with us 100 times over.
I've never seen somebody reach out to me and say, I didn't see the value. I've literally logged in with people that are like, I just don't see the value. And I'll log in. Now, if they've only pulled transcripts on 6 people, I can't help them. If you're not willing to take that step and start looking at the client data, you have to be able to pull the 8821s and do this. You have to be committed at least that far. But anybody that's had over 100 clients that they pulled transcripts for, just in the first time penalty abatement opportunities, they've been paid back tenfold of what the product cost was without even getting into the weeds of everything else that's out there.
The reason I wanted to do this now, for the folks listening, this is the time to implement right before the coming tax season. Why? Because this tax season, you want to put in your letters, we now offer monitoring. We will also look for first time any penalty abatement opportunities. And again, build it right into your letter that you're agreeing that we keep whatever percentage, and have them do the 8821 as part of the tax prep process.
And that's the best time to do it.
Right. You upload them now for the year. You can monitor, you can look for those first time abatement. Even if the client, like, nah, I don't want the monitoring. You can just like the other person, you could just pull the transcript reports, find people that do, now call them, say, look, I think there's an opportunity. Are you willing to, if we can recover, can we keep 25%? Almost everyone would be like, found money? Sure, knock yourself out.
Oh, and so some users have had a good idea. So what they do is they'll pull an 8821 on every customer, no matter if they sign up for monitoring or not. Where the difference is they still want to monitor clients because there's still revenue opportunities. Now, let's say Eric didn't pay for monitoring. He was one of my clients. So the way that would work is, and we didn't talk about it extensively, but tax help software will detect audits and exams more than 6 months in advance, over 90% of the time. And for CP2000s, the 3rd week of May, we'll compare the wage and income transcript to the return transcript and tell you a full year before the IRS really starts looking at CP2000s if there's an income mismatch. So our users were reaching out to all their CP2000 potential clients by June 1st, which lowered their penalties significantly.
Yep.
But if I call Eric up, let's say I detect an audit for Eric that's beginning, whether it's a correspondence audit, a field audit, a CP2000. Hey, Eric. Hey, it's Roger Nemeth. You're an enrolled agent. I'm here. I'm getting, we just got alerted that you are being reviewed. Technically, the audit hasn't begun yet, but the IRS has begun a review of your records. It's not a full audit yet. They're reviewing to see if they want to audit. Now, you didn't pay for our monitoring service. So what I got, because you didn't pay for monitoring, I'm going to charge you $200 for you to come in, and we're going to go ahead and review your tax return and establish what the exam potentially will be on. If you were one of my monitoring clients and paid me my $200 a year or $100 or $300, most people charge between $100 and $300 for monitoring. But with this caveat, a high dollar CPA firm, some of them will charge upwards of $1,000 or $1,500. So your clients.
I have tax rep members charging $95 a month.
And by month works well. There's a lot of people out there doing the monthly, and it's like kind of a continuing thing with a subscriber service. That probably is the best way to go. But with somebody like Eric, you throw them that offer. If you do monitoring going forward, I'll do the consultation for free, but you got to pay me for the monitoring service.
Right.
You get them again for monitoring. But again, if that person had gotten a CB 2000 notice 6 months later, me managing the tax offices like I did, I knew a lot of people would get that letter and they wouldn't bring it to us. They would blame us for it and go to somebody else the next year by reaching out and saying, hey, Eric, you have a missing 1099-R. Okay. He can't turn around and go, you forgot it on my return. Oh, no, I've got your customer data sheet. You didn't list the 1099-R. We caught it to a secondary check that we do as just part of our everyday services. And it's going to cost you a little bit more because you didn't sign up for monitoring, but we still caught it.
Yep.
So the audit detection piece, the IRS is ramping up collections. Now, think of it as the biggest ship in the world. It doesn't turn on a dime. The IRS has all this money. And what you're going to see is over the next 1 to 5 years, you're going to see the ship turn around and return to 2010, 2009 levels of, I think they're going to get aggressive again.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point. I mean, when Congress funded the 80 billion, it was because of the TIGDA report about 10 million non-filers, many of them high income earning. Why are you not going after them? If you're listening, you can go Google TIGDA, which is Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration. It was the May 29th, 2020 report on non-filers. Congress read that and was like, literally, what the fuck? Why are we not going after them? Now, at the time, it was Chuck Redding who said, no, we're going to go after them. Then we went into COVID shutdown. But Commissioner Werfel has picked right up where Chuck left off. They clawed back, like 17 billion of the 80.
I thought it was 20, whatever it was.
It was close to that. And now they're threatening again. My read is the Senate is not going to go along. So I think that they may not claw back much, if anything. The point being is that the IRS is saying for the next 5 years, they're still good. The clawbacks are going to hit them in those last 2 to 3 years that they had planned on. But so we're going to see, once we get past all these potential government shutdown nonsense, for those folks who listened to, I think it was one podcast 150 with Rocco Stecco, the director of collection policy, about a month ago. He said, we don't want to shut down. We don't want to go into a government shutdown when we drop the hammer on people for back. But once we get past that, they're going to ramp up. So more people are going to be looking for help. You have the monitoring, you have looking for the refunds, monitoring the payments in, all of the resolution stuff, as well as when you have these reports. If I were CPA, I would put a tax alert newsletter to bankruptcy lawyers. The need for transcripts, whether it's discharge or what's missing, are there refund opportunities? And if you have clients and want help with this, we can generate a 28-page report, get it to you, has everything. You will pay for the software 10 times over just with that. So like we the partners here, we go over our software every year. We want to switch with this. Tax help software, it's a no-brainer. Like there's no debate. It's like, yeah, we're making money on that. That's good. So,
well, and let me touch on that briefly. So we started to get more competitors. The IRS opened up an API about 1.5 years ago. And what it basically said is that for years, I scraped the IRS website. You put your login credentials in and we would go get the transcripts and we kind of made our own API. Well, we could only do about 18,000 transcripts a day for everybody that used the program. Not, each person could do about 12 to 18,000 a day. When the API came out, it made it easier for businesses to write code to download transcripts. I've never been worried about other people downloading transcripts. The trick of what we did is it took me 5 years to develop the reports and the logic, and nobody has ever come close. There's people that look like us. I've heard our competitors give sales pitch, and one of them actually said, obviously we're not as good as THS. It is the best, but we're good enough. All right. Well,
there's an overwhelming sales pitch.
Yeah. Well, I was going on after them, and if they didn't choose their words wisely, they would have got it handed to them. But some people are saying we're doing account monitoring now. We detect changes. Literally, one of the companies that's doing that now, they check to see if the file size changes. You don't know what the change is. They just say, hey, there's a change on the transcript because the file size changed. we actually not only point out what the change is, we tell you what the change was from. Because just saying something changed, you don't know what it was before it changed.
Right. No, and I have to tell you, so when I first found the software, Jeff Sklarz and I, we ran a report on someone, and it has the CSET calculated for the collection statute expiration date. And Jeff and I looked at it, and he's like, yeah, we're not relying on that. So we, of course, did everything by hand. It was very accurate, and it's been such. I did a lien discharge a couple of years ago for a client, and I sent them the report. Oh, we got the payoff. We got the payoff letter break. And when you get a payoff from the IRS, it has by year how much interest and penalty, and it calculates out to a date so that you're going to do a closing or whatever else. And I sent it to the client. Client called me and said, that earliest year, I think, is expired. Okay. Pulled the transcripts. Yeah, it had expired. I faxed the lien unit back the report saying, here's our report. I believe this year is expired, and the payoff should really only be this.
And it was a big amount, if I remember.
Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, they wanted them to pay like $72,000. $28,000 of it was that first of the 4 years. They didn't respond, but faxed me back a new payoff with that year gone. So it's it is fantastic. And so to wrap this up, for the folks listening, I'll put a link below. Go to Get Tax Help Software. The time to implement this is now, because come this tax, you don't want to start trying to do it in February. It's you and I both know, let's be blunt, it's going to be chaotic. You do it now, so when your organizers go out at the end of the year, this is just part of the deal. That they're going to sign the 8821.
And we have the 256 month if you're not already a THS user. From November 1st takes you through to May 1st, I believe. So for $250, if you don't get your money back and you don't at least look at 100 clients, call me and I'll take a look with you.
Yeah, no, there's just too much money. There's too much money left on the table, but also you elevate yourself beyond any other preparer they've dealt with. No other preparer has done that. We can monitor, we can find stuff.
And if you're skeptical and you're somebody that's like, I don't want to pull 8821s on everybody, I do have people that say, you know what? Then let me pull them on my elderly clients that always forget wage and income documents, and any of my clients that have any of the schedules. Those are the ones that tend to have the biggest issues. And so they narrow it down to their Schedule C and their, Schedule Ds and Es and Fs if you're out west.
Yeah, the person that shows up with just a W-2, you don't have to worry about them.
Yeah, but it'll look for some of the credits, the lower income tax credits and stuff, and you'd be surprised how many people miss that. So,
yeah. All right. Now, listen, Roger, thank you for stopping in. Everyone, thank you for listening in. Check out the link below. Go check out Tax Help Software. I will probably, I'm actually going to be doing a webinar for my members. I might open it up to everybody. So actually look for me to post something. I will be doing a free webinar on how to maximize, basically how to add 150,000 to your practice with Tax Help Software. No, you don't have to go get new clients, anything else, just with what you have. There's a lot of gold you just haven't uncovered yet. So look for that. And everyone, thanks for listening in. Roger, thanks for stopping in. It's awesome as always.
All right. Thanks for having me.